if he
The
was
first
checked
coup.
on the
Okay,
first,
so let's talk about the first coup. The
yes,
first coup,
yes,
the first coup was him getting into an argument and almost a fight with a man. This was the first coup. They had started their own government. We wasn't officially a government at the time. We were trying to be a government. So because he was in so many different arguments with these individuals just decided to walk away. So then other brothers like Gabandi, me, Gabandi's wife Sana, then Dawood came in, who was just very young in embryo. Then Dre, who was very young in embryo. So it first started with Akira and Zachariah, which they did have a lot of people. They were helping us all out with our tags. They were helping out Moors all across the place. Okay. So we were all very young in our teachings. We were all very young with just going along with going along, trying to learn what it is just to be a Moor. We went from Moor to the Moor science to Temple Moors. We were all just learning. Well, throughout that process, as himself, he couldn't get along with anybody. He wanted to do things. He wanted to do things different than what Akira and Zachariah was doing. Akira didn't like it. Zachariah didn't like it. And it was a good brother by the name of Tarif. It was Akira, Zachariah, and Tarif. We had came into that. They decided to walk away because they wasn't getting along with Jay. Well, during that time, Gabandi, his wife, and Dre, me, Dawood, we all came in. So they walked away. So if you want to define that as a coup, was because they were like almost getting in fist fights at Delaware, which I had to stop between Jay and um, Zacharias. So they decided to walk away. Once they walked away, they took their CO, they took the name, and we came up with a new name, Elodium Morse Prediamante, Colorado. During that time,
I thought it was okay.
yeah, but it wasn't a Elodium Morse Prediamante, Colorado at first. But when Akira and Zachariah left, we had to come up with a new name. So Gabande came up with the name. We all sat around. We all sat around for probably at my domicile for 2 or 3 days that we met from, I mean, it was probably 18 hours a day where we coming up with a name, coming up, trying to define the Constitution. After we came up with the name Elodia Morse Prairie Monte, Colorado, we came up with the idea, Jay was like, why are we learning from Shimon Abdullah? When we can do this on our own. So we stopped paying monthly dues to Shimon Abdullah to do it, to just get into statehood on our own. That first class you seen, the AMPAC study session, that was at my home. Probably the first 50 classes was probably at my home before we decided to get a building. After probably about a year, we were breaching the Constitution because it says within our original Constitution that we supposed to have a new Sayaraha. The Sayaraha was only to hold a 12-month term. So Jay came in. He had a court document. I forgot what it was called. I still got it, but it was a court document to kind of fix it. He came in from consular court, was like, hey, I got something to go over with. We breached our Constitution, but I got a way to fix it. Okay, so everybody's learning like, okay, we breached it. Well, Mother Sana did not like that. She did not like the fact of, and Jay asked her, hey, did you know? And she was like, we didn't have anybody else to have as a Sarah. So this started that discernment right there because Jay was trying to say that she knew that we should have re-elected her. And she was like, well, re-elect who? There's no other women within the government. So how are we supposed to have re-elections when there's no woman within the government? So that started a little rift between Jay, Mother Sana, in Gabandi. To where this man, Dawood, disrespected Mother Kabandi and called her a petulant child in front of the whole government. So we finally got through that phase. What's his name? Dawood brought in another woman, which her name was Nicole. When he brought this Nicole woman in, she signed her nationality paperwork. Gabandi and Mother Sana was working with her to try to get her paperwork signed. Because Jay was pushing the narrative, we got to get another woman in the house. We got to get another Sarah Raha in the house. We got to do this or we're going to be out of conformity with the Constitution. So Nicole comes in. Dawood recruited her. She comes in. And I think she did take the position of Sarah Raha at one. She did. She took the position of Sarah Raha. But she wasn't supposed to take the position of Sarah Raha because her mother was of Swedish descent. When I asked the question about her nationality paperwork and I asked Dawood for the nationality paperwork, Dawood pretty much didn't give me her nationality paperwork. And then Nicole ended up calling me in the middle of the night telling me that she didn't know if she was able to carry the position of the Sarah Raha based upon the fact that she lied on her paperwork. I said, well, who knew that your grandmother was of Swedish descent? She said, Gabandi and Mother Sam knew that that I was of Swedish descent. So then we had to deal with that situation. So then when that situation happened, apparently Jay got a problem, had a problem with that. And they were like, well, look, we were trying to move people in so we can be in conformity with the Constitution. She's a Moor, but her grandmother is of Swedish descent. So there was a problem between the matrilineal and patrilineal. So we kept her on. But eventually that was causing discernment with Mother Sana. So eventually our government meetings was argument after argument after argument to eventually Gabandi and Dawood, Gabandi and Mother Sana left. During that time, this is when Dawood brought in Nova. Dawood had a lot of great ideas. Jay didn't like those ideas. So then it caused, then now Jay was in discernment with who? Dawood. So then I had to do an investigation on that. Jay slapped the ID out his hand and called him a punk ass because Dawood created an ID, an interim ID that he thought should be for the government. He was carrying in his wallet. After about 6 to 8 months of them going back and forth every meeting, Dawood decided to call a meeting in the morning time between the mothers. And the only mother that did not show up was Brittany Bey, i.e. Chad's wife. She was asleep because she was nursing. She was worked as a nurse the night before. Dawood was calling a meeting to get rid of Jay, as well as myself, to remove me off of the consul general position because he said, well, if I get rid of Jay, I'm going to have to get rid of Kanye, which was a lie. The sermons that Jay be having with people ain't got nothing to do with me. Ain't got nothing to do with me. So what Jay did was like they trying to pull a coup d'etat. I said, a coup d'etat? What's a coup d'etat? I didn't even know what a coup d'etat was. So I started reading it. Years later, Jay set it up, gave Brittany the script on what to say. Same way on how he gave them the script on what to say on video 175. And as I kept studying and reading about coup d'etat, I said what? I said, no, Dawood didn't pull the coup d'etat. Dawood was just getting ready to remove his ass out of his office. Who really pulled the coup d'etat, Wazir Maru?
I'm listening,
Brother, I just asked a
and I
question,
appreciate
man.
the explanation.
I understand.
I
Hey,
understand.
Okay, I
hey,
just asked a
I
question.
understand. Whoa,
I'm just
whoa.
asking a
See, that's
question.
emotions. That's emotions.
But I'm asking a question. You say you
And I
want to
like
know
to
the truth.
answer. I
You say
like
you
to
want to know
answer it my
what you
let
say
way.
the
you
man
wanted to know what
finish.
all
Huh?
what went on, right?
Point of interest. Point of interest.
That's it. That's it.
All
Yeah, I'd
right.
like to know all that
I'm
went in.
good
You
on you,
asking
Maru.
me?
Point,
I'm
All
good,
right.
Eddie.
All right.
I'm
point of
good.
interest.
Order on the
Point of
floor.
interest. Point of interest.
I'm good.
We're good. We're good.
All right. All right. Well, I just want to again. We went a lot over time, and I just would like to first of all conclude this meeting. But secondly, again, we got to stay on task here. We got to
No,
stay on task.
respectfully, I absolutely don't like the narrative of what this is a grown man, but I don't like the narrative of somebody knew something way before in the past.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't
I
I,
have to look. I
yeah,
Brother,
have
don't
but
to
at the
start
end of the
look
speak.
day,
at
Brother,
at the
don't
end of the
start
day,
speak.
this
Let him
everything
man,
speak, please.
because
Let him
he
speak.
went
Big
too
time.
long.
Time.
He
Hold
went
on,
too
big
long.
time.
Decorum.
You
Decorum.
can't hear none of
He
y'all. One
went
at a
too
time,
long. Hold
man.
on. He went too long, but you yield the floor. So then now that he's speaking, you want to interrupt. No,
okay,
you yield
yes,
the floor already, and we was about to close it.
yes, he went too long. We all know he went too long. But I'm gonna ask a
It's
question
called
to
floor,
you, brother.
decorum on the floor.
Okay.
I'm just saying
Was it
because
my
you were
floor?
speaking and he interrupted. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
My question asking to you, yeah, he went too long. Absolutely. But when people in the government are being put into positions to allow him to go that long, you have to understand, brother Amaru, he created a policies and procedures to keep me quiet. He put a minister of foreign affairs who I had to speak to about any type of discernment that I had. Then he put a prime minister in front of me. So if I had any complaints, I had to go to the minister of foreign affairs, the executive director, or the prime minister. So anytime if I had a discernment or a complaint, I had to go to the three people that most definitely was not going to tell people about my complaint. You think that this is the first time that I've complained about what's been happening with Jay? So I'm with you, brother Amaru. I am absolutely with what you're saying. This is what you got on Sunday. I say it's all of our fault. But I have been complaining. I told this man himself that this was too much power for one person to have. You need to spread the power out. But instead of him spreading it from different state to state, he decided that he was going to spread the power within AMPAC 2.0.
Yeah. Uh, That's all I'm asking. You took responsibility. The responsibility has to be taken because if it's not in the Constitution, he cannot tell you, Your Majesty, the Sultan, who to select as a prime minister. You
Yeah, he
know,
wasn't. He
uh,
wasn't. Let me say
the
this point of
things that
interest.
he got, the things that he got away with is because he was allowed to get away with that. This is. I'm only trying to say that for us to move forward, so that how we start out is how we're going to end up. If we bring out all the truth, we can move forward with clean hands. That's all I'm trying. It's not just him.
I'm not. Let me tell you something.
It's acquiescing. It was the acquiescing.
Okay.
I like to finish
Let
my
me know when
thought,
I can have the
and then
floor.
I'm
Let
gonna
me hear what
yield.
I wasn't done, but let me know when I can have the floor back. But I'll give you the floor. Go
I'll
ahead.
give you. I only got about 3 more words.
Okay, I was about to say
It
point of
was
privilege.
it was all the acquiescing along the way. Do I
Okay.
have the floor?
Okay. Yeah, it was your floor. So are you giving the floor back to me?
So I hadn't finished my thought. I only got about 3 or 4 more
Okay, it's
words
your
to
floor.
say,
It's
and
your
then I
floor.
can give the floor. All right. All right. So what what you're demonizing and he was created. That was created. That has to be accounted for. And these are the things that cannot happen again. That's all. I yield.
Okay. So yes, me and you spoke about this before. But if you want
But
the
this is
whole
for the town hall meeting now. This
okay,
is for the
okay,
town, so that the town hall can hear everything, not just you and I.
okay.
What
Well,
you and I spoke about.
if you stop interrupting me, brother, then the town hall meeting can hear everything.
Point of
All right,
privilege.
you got it.
Exactly. Point of privilege.
So okay, so is it my floor or is it the point of privilege floor?
It's your floor, man. You're
You
responding to what I said.
can say,
Okay,
AG, speak.
okay. So this is the truth, is was what I was trying to tell people a long time ago. But now all of a sudden we in 2025, and y'all want to know the story from the beginning to the end. I've watched it. And once he figured out, once he got a Kieran Zachariah out, because he's what he's good at is poking the bear. Once the Kieran Zachariah left and just said, look, man, I ain't dealing with him no more. Me and Gabandi even went to a meeting to bring a Kieran Zachariah back. We met them at IHOP. And they were willing to come back to help us continue to keep growing with the government. But they said the only provision of us coming back and helping is that we're not going to be able, we can't work with him because he's going to try to control everything. So they walked away again. It wasn't that Dawood pulled the coup d'etat. We were so young in our learning and teaching and educating ourselves. That's why I'm so protective of you, brother Amaru, and all the rest of my brothers and sisters, because I had the wool pulled over my eyes. That's why I'm protective of y'all, because I seen what he was doing. But once I started really deep studying myself, because I said it's a reason why everybody keeps leaving. Why does everybody just hate, just has this decorum for this person? So then the second coup d'etat was pulled through Dawood, where he had Brittany. He said, we'll have Brittany with the baby. Do you remember Brother Maru on when we had the baby? He said, get the baby. We were all standing up there as AMPAC officials, and he said, bring the baby in the picture too.
Are you talking about at the inauguration in Atlanta?
Yes. Yes. No, no, not in Atlanta, but
Okay, yeah,
our
okay.
inauguration for
Uh,
AMPAC. He said, bring the baby. He said, bring the baby, Chad and Brittany. Let's put the baby in the picture, and let's make sure that Brittany's in the front as the mother, because they're gonna listen to, because the Moors will listen to the mother. If the mother's saying it, then it's the truth to the Moors. And this is how I started to figure out that every time he gets in trouble, he uses the mother. So this is the second coup d'etat. We go along, government's going good. We find AMPAC. When AMPAC came along, AMPAC had more officials than what we had. He started listening to Abdul. And he said, okay, he takes a liking to brothers that study. He takes a liking to them. But he had always looked at Abdul as somebody with some knowledge, but somebody that can move, that can get this movement and move it along. But he also likes people that he can control. That's why he likes to have his ex parte conversations with everybody. He likes to talk to he friended Abdul. He friended Dre. So now we here now, and people started to think for themselves. Just to fast forward, it was many other rumblings going on in at AMPAC. We stopped even having government meetings, Brother Amaru. We stopped having internal government meetings because they were having meetings for the empire, because AMPAC was like, well, we are the empire. These was the meeting. We're the empire. We got to concentrate on the empire and make sure that the empire grow, because AMPAC needs to be the beacon. Take in mind, Brother Maru, I'm the consul general. I asked to be a part of the Wazir Regional Council. I asked to be a part of everything that was going on with the Moors. I was like, let me be in the Wazir. No, we don't need you in the Wazir Regional Council. Let me be in the trusteeship. No, we don't need you in the trustee. You just get your office ready. Just make sure your office ready when we do Operation Swarm. You just do the Sunday meetings for the council generals. That's what I did. I just stayed doing the Sunday meetings with council generals. That's why I know what was going on with Jordan Bey, Kendon, and Dominique. Then one day, Dre calls me and say, yeah, we're going to make sure you on the meeting tonight because we're having a problem with the Sultan. Exactly what he said. So I text Jay and I said, what problem are we having with the Sultan? And I still got these long text messages calling the Sultan, he's acting like a child. He don't want to do his own work. He wants everybody to write his own letters, the whole 9 yards. This was way back, Amaru, and I'm talking to that town hall. This was way back, like during the summertime. I got all these messages. They had me thinking that the Sultan was acting belligerent. So I wrote him back. I said, well, keep me updated on the Sultan's behavior. Because they had me thinking that the Sultan was just being belligerent. He didn't want to do no work. He's a procrastinator. I have all these messages. So they tried to paint a picture of the Sultan. So time goes on. Now take in mind, I've never talked to the Sultan before. For anybody on this call, I had never talked to me and the Sultan never had a personal relationship. But we need to get this all out now so we can, like Brother Maru said, so we can move forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I need to tell y'all the story from the beginning to the end. So please be patient because this is a much needed meeting. So one day, my wife, take in mind, I'm gonna tell y'all this story too. My company went bad. Jay and Dre works for my company, High Tower Security. Y'all got to know everything in full totality. So please stay with me. So my company went back and I had to go back into school to work because my wife was pregnant at the time. We wasn't making any money with the security company. I lost a big client. But I let Dre and Jada, I still let them work for the company because that was allowing them to work for the empire. Dre works at night where he can be on his computer getting work done. Jay works in the day where he can work on his computer, but they were still working for my company. I said, we don't have no money coming in. We got to work on getting clients. So the arrears kept building up, but any type of money that came in, I was giving it to them. I even went to the point to put, and I put together they put together a silver promise to pay that I'm going to pay them back. They still work for my company today. They get weekly payments and arrears from me every single week. But that don't have anything to do with what they were doing from a perspective of trying to control the empire from the internal of AMPAC. So let me fast forward with the Sultan. So they kept sending me messages that the Sultan was just being belligerent. They didn't want to do no work. So when Jay jumped on the conference call, when they jumped on that call that day with you guys, talking about who has the power in the Constitution, that was already something that they had already planned. So they planned on telling the people that the Sultan had no power and that Dre had the power in the Constitution as the prime minister. Jay wrote that whole script. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the Constitution and I'm saying, well, how can the Sultan not have any power? So I'm questioning them after the call. Like, how can the Sultan not have power, man? Like, the Sultan has power in the Constitution. Like, why are we saying that Drake? And Dre was like, well, the Sultan's trying to bully me. The Sultan's bullying me. Sultan wants to change bills, or Sultan was trying to do something, um, you know, trying to pass some bills and stuff like that without, I guess they were saying he was trying to pass some bills without getting the approval or some stuff like that. So I was like,
Right.
okay. So it was my wife's uncle died. And this is when everything hit the fan. My wife's uncle dies, and I called Dre the night before and I said, Dre, we had a death in the family. I'm gonna go tomorrow and I'm going to help my wife clean out her uncle's place. Dre said, man, I'm sorry. Dre's a really good-hearted person. He really is. But he says, okay, he said, I'll take care of your PO committee call for you. I said, okay, not a problem. So the next day, Nova, I get a call from Nova. She was like, Nova's like, there's no PO committee. I said, no, Nova. I said, I'm helping my wife. We had a death in the family. And she just started, I got the text message. I'll send them all to y'all. She just started talking, Nova, her mouth. Well, you supposed to be reporting to me. I'm like, report to you? I said, I reported to the prime minister. You're supposed to be reporting to me, and you're supposed to be the head of the PO committee. So you're supposed to be telling me that you're gonna. I said, Dre told me he would tell you, and y'all was still gonna run the meeting, and I would get the recording. So I'm texting her and I'm telling her, I said, I didn't know that I had to report to you because before that, take in mind, I didn't know Nova's position on what she held, Brother Mario. You get what I'm saying? You guys were working with her, and I did not even know that she was a head. I'm the acting head counsel general of the Empire, and I didn't even know that the executive chief of staff, this is on how they had closed me off. That the executive chief of staff overseeing all high-ranking officials. I didn't even know she was over my office until that day. So right after she says I disrespected her, which I did, and I've read that message to Dre. I sent it to the Salt, and I sent it to McCarr, and McCarr said, and Dre was like, I don't think he was like, you know what happens, Kanye, when you start shooting text messages, people take them the wrong way. You should have just picked up the phone and called her. I did, Brother Maru. I called her 3 times. She put me to voicemail. I called Dre. He put me to voicemail. It's 2:30 in the day. Then I text him. I said, hey, man, call me. It's an emergency. And he looked at my message at 2:30 and wouldn't even pick up the call. Well, guess who the next text message was from? Judge, the former Judge Jay. You're going to be respectful. You're an absolutely embarrassment to the empire. You've done nothing administratively for us for 4 years. This is how you're going off on me in a text message.
Wow.
Yeah, told me I ain't done nothing administratively in 4 years. I got over 200, close to 300 classes teaching council generals. So I'll go back inside. My wife is like, what's wrong, Kanye? I said, Nova and told Jay that I disrespected her. She was like, baby, she's like, my wife said that. She said, Dre is not going to say nothing to Jay, and Nova is always starting shit. She looked at me in the face. She says, did you call the Sultan? I said, I don't have no relationship with the Sultan. The Sultan is probably going to tell them what I'm going to say. My wife said, you need to call the Sultan. This is that I would have never picked up the phone and called the Sultan if my wife didn't push me to do it. She was like, she was like, this is not going to change unless you let somebody know what's going on. I didn't even know I could trust the Sultan to tell him everything that was going on down here at AMPAC and everything that was being done. So they gave me a position of acting head counsel general, but then went and gave Chad, who was the minister of foreign affairs, who came in after me, right? They gave him a permanent position with the Empire because Chad is the one that does all the videos, AMPAC study sessions, and him and Dre and Jay, they get together every single week over at Chad's in them house, and they go through things on how they're gonna do the Empire. I didn't even see them. We ran government together here, and just for y'all to know, I'm being very candid. I hadn't seen them in almost 2 years. Did you hear what I said, Brother Maru?
I'm listening. Yeah.
Almost 2 years I didn't see them. My wife went through a whole pregnancy and I hadn't seen them. We did everything from only time I even heard from them was whether they was working with my company. It was through text or email, or whether I was on y'all Monday or we on the Monday night calls. So after I picked up the phone and called the Sultan and told the Sultan what happened, and the Sultan says, that doesn't surprise me. He said, it doesn't surprise me. He says, I'm having some problems with them myself. So I said, I got to, and then Jay kept texting me, and I kept saying, hey man, I advise you not to keep texting me. I said, you acting like a coward, and you want to talk to me, pick up the phone. I called him, he wouldn't pick up the phone, put me in the voicemail, but he'll be texting stuff to me. So I said, I tell you what, I said, I'm gonna take it to the house. So as I told him I was gonna call McCarr, then Jay and Jay had already called McCarr. When I picked up the phone and called McCarr the next day, McCarr was like, I was expecting your call, acting head counsel general. So tell me what happened. I told McCarr what happened. And you know what the first thing McCarr said to me? I want everybody, all 30 people. After I got done telling her everything, McCarr said, I just want you to know, some people can't hide anymore. She says, everybody is starting to see through what Jay is doing. Makar said that to me personally, myself, Wazir Maru, and you see where she's at today?
Yeah.
Makara sees what's
Yeah.
happening.
With the wizard.
Yeah. She told me specifically, I swear on Allah, she told me specifically, I love both of them. I don't know what to do, acting head counsel general. I love him and I love Jay. That's what she told me. I knew she was having a rough time. So fast forward, when the Sultan told me to do the investigation, I got the text message. Jay called me and the Sultan, he texted me and says, I'm glad to see that two procrastinators are now talking. I got the text messages in my phone. He called me and the Sultan procrastinators. Then I had Mansur Bey. Mansur Bey, which y'all have to realize, Mansur Bey was the assistant counsel general, but they brought him into the PO committee. I know this seems like we could probably write a book about what's happening now. But they brought Mansur Bey in to watch me. So Mansur would tell me, Mansur be like, well, you know, Kanye, they such high performers. I'd be like, okay, how are they high performers? He said, well, they high performers from an administrative standpoint. I said, okay. I said, Mansur, they taught me on how to do the administrative work on how they wanted to do it for the empire. Did I do it? He said, yeah. I said, then what's the problem? Because remember, Wazir Maru, haven't I showed you? Remember, I was showing you my case files? I was showing everybody on how I was putting together things for the PO
Yeah.
committee. Do you remember that? Well, It's not the fact that I
Yes,
don't know
yes, yes.
administrative work. I know administrative work, but I didn't know on how they wanted it. Does that make sense? So I was doing it on how the way they wanted
Yes.
it. So then in the PO committees, Nova would jump on and she'd be like, and she would jump on not to teach me. She would jump on to try to find things that I would do wrong. Like I was hyperlinking everybody cases and everything. And she was like, well, I tell you what, this is on the wrong line. Like she was literally trying to find things to try to get on me about, but I wouldn't give her that because she was under the impression I didn't know how to do administrative work. And I'm very excellent administrator. I've been running my own company for 26 years. I just used to hire people to do the work that I used to do. But long story short, this was happening. So they put Manser into the PO committee. But the head of the PO committee was me, and they told me I had to move people into the PO committee, but I didn't approve Manser. They brought him in because they looked at Manser as somebody that they could mold. So they bring Manser into the PO committee, and Manser all the time be like, yeah, man, I see some stuff that they're doing. And Manser's a part of Dempty. He'd be like, yeah, Kanye, just, I see some stuff they're doing. So throughout this whole process, y'all, I started watching the cases because remember, everybody, I had the whole caseload as the acting head counsel general. So what that allowed me to do was watch all the cases that was coming in. And I started reading all the cases, and I said, damn, we got 3 drug cases. And I said, all these cases is at Dempty. So when I called Manser and said, Manser, there's something wrong with this prescription letter. I called the pharmacy and I called the grocery store. It's not a pharmacy there. She has the pharmacy as this address. It's a grocery store, and there's no pharmacy in the grocery store. So y'all can imagine, Manser went back and told them that I was figuring out that paperwork. So Jay puts in the PO committee that group chat that it's a valid document and it has a DEA number, but that DEA number is not a valid DEA number. They were fraudulently writing documents to get prescriptions, and I caught the number. What I mean by the number is what she paid for it. She paid $363.93. She just turned the letters around from the 6 to the 9, 36393. That's how much she say she paid for 100 oxycodones. So once all the information started coming out that I was catching on to Dempty, once the Salter knew what was going on here at AMPAC, then Jay came with those 3 policies or those 4 policies to shut me up. He says, you have to go through, he was putting in the policies that I had, what was it, the chain of command, brother Maru, the chain of command, the email, because he was like, oh, you want to email somebody? You're going to have to email Nova. You're going to have to email Chad. You're going to have to email your boss, prime minister, and all 3 of them are not going to let you say one damn bad thing about me. Are y'all following me still? This needs to be said. I'm sorry it's taking long.
We follow you.
Yes, sir.
So those chain of command policies, Jay said, because this Kanye and Kanye now has a relationship with the Sultan, and the Sultan's listening to him, and Makar's listening to him too, because he's now telling the truth about what the hell's going on. He says, I gotta write these policies. Now, during that time, Amaru, I don't know if people told you, I put together an HR manual of 27, 28 pages. I told Makar, I said, I'm going to write up an HR manual so we can start an HR department so it can keep us all in line. And McCarr said, I can't wait to get it. Am I right or wrong, Sultan and Akil? So
That's right.
once
That's
they
correct.
once the Wazir Council seen the manual, Jay got pissed. I think he told the Sultan, oh, he don't even have a correct seal on there or something like that. And it was just a draft, right? So what he did is went back and wrote these 3 policies. So when I talked to Dre, I talked to the Sultan, I said, well, what about the HR manual I put together so we won't be infighting and it's gonna keep us all in check. And the Sultan says, well, the Wazir Council is doing these policies, put together something real quick, but I promise you that HR manual is going to be passed. And then they came out that Monday and start talking about these policies on chain and command and emails and who you can talk to. And that's what actually got them caught. Because what got them caught was that they were trying to cover up, they were trying to jump ahead of the HR department, and they wanted to write their own policies in place to shut me up from talking to the remember it said that nobody could talk, high-ranking officials. If you got mid-level officials had to go talk to high-ranking officials. It was all clutter. But what happened was that my office, which is the acting head counsel general, then they wrote a Department of Counsel Generals Act. Stay with me, everybody. In the Department of Counsel Generals Act, it says that the Minister of Foreign Affairs oversees my office. So now he has sworn me, Brother Maru, with Chad. Dre was already the prime minister who I had to answer to anyway. So then now Chad start coming on our, remember, any council generals on the call, when they start seeing Chad come on our council general calls? El Vega, you still there?
Yes, I remember.
Remember? He started coming on our calls late. He wasn't on our calls all year, Maru. And I'm talking to everybody. I'm specifically talking to my brother Maru because I want to clear this up for him. But he
Thank
within the last 3 months of Maru, he was on our calls. Because Jay was like, no, jump on the calls and make sure the council general ain't saying nothing bad about us. And remember, Amaru, I kept saying, we got to clean up the empire. Remember, I kept saying that?
you. Yeah, I remember that.
We got to clean up some stuff, but we need to get into this law. But we got to clean up some stuff. And guess who went back and told him I said that? Mansur Bey. Master Bay went back and said, yeah, he ain't said nothing about nobody. He's just saying that we got to clean up some stuff in the empire. So Jay was like, I got to get these policies in to shut his ass up because he's a whistleblower and he only going to follow the Constitution. I know Kanye, right? And that's why I came on that Monday night call when he was like, well, what did you get out of talking to people and making phone calls? What did you get out of that? And I came on and I said, what we have to do is respect each other's offices. And I said, I have no allegiance to no man. I have allegiance to the empire of Morocco. And once I told him that, at that point, he knew that once those policies was passed, that I would be shut up. It wasn't nothing I can do because he know that I'm going to stand. He know I'm not going to break the law. So he says, I know him better than anybody. He's not going to break these policies and these laws, no matter on how pissed off he is or how much he don't like what we're doing. Kanye's not going to break the law. So if we get these laws passed, and I did not tell the Sultan to veto those laws. I told the Sultan, I said, Sultan, this is the reason why these, and he says, Sultan said, I'm vetoing those. He says those are to shut people up and for the truth not to be told to the people. He says, I got to veto those letters. And once those letters was vetoed, and then the Sultan said, I'm going to veto the letters and I need an investigation done.
The
And I told you,
policies,
brother,
not letters, the policies.
the
Veto the policies.
policies. Yeah, I'm going to veto those policies, but I want an investigation done. I want everything. I want to suspend these people. I want everything investigated. Uh, I want all the text messages. I want all the recordings. I want the people to know what's been happening behind the scenes. And when that happened, y'all, this is when the third coup d'etat was pulled. Brother Maru's right. The first coup d'etat happened. I was young, everybody. I was young. I was I was 6 months in. 6 months to a year in. I was just like going up with when Akira and Zachariah and them left. I'm like, okay, let's just continue to move on. I didn't know it was a coup d'etat. And then when he did the coup d'etat against Dawood, I'm like, he's like, yeah, show. They pulled a coup d'etat on us. And I'm like, coup d'etat. And I started reading. I was like, this fucking guy Dawood tried to take over the government, but I didn't know that Dawood couldn't do the coup d'etat because Dawood was the head of state. We pulled a coup d'etat on who? On David Taylor. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
As I kept studying. So that's why I'm so protective of y'all, because I got it done to me. And then I grew up and I quit listening to them and I started reading my treaties, my ICJ court cases, my everything. And I always get on the mores about studying because I had the wool pull over my eyes. And that's why I stepped away from them. Because I said, look what they're doing. And the biggest reason why is because of what they did to Marcus Maymoon Ill. He was our minister of defense. And he was calling me and telling me. And also they had one of my brothers that I grew up with, Ariel Devon Raze Ill. He was also in the trusteeship council of Wazir Regional Council, WRC. So they would call me and be like, man, no, it was straight disrespectful. We asked her a question, just like disrespecting us. So they tried to get rid of the minister of defense. And so the minister of defense came to me as his consul general. Was like, look, I need you to represent me against Nova and them. And I said, what happened? He was like, I got it all, man. So, and Jay jumped in and was just like, Kanye can't represent you due to the fact that it's not Kanye's jurisdiction. And he was like, how is this not my consul general's jurisdiction when the empire's jurisdiction is in AMPAC's jurisdiction and he's the consul general of AMPAC? I'm asking him to represent me against what y'all doing to me at the WRC. And for some odd reason, it just never unfolded. Marcus ended up writing me a resignation notice. He wrote it to me and I passed it along to Dre. Me and Marcus are still good friends today. We both coach. We see each other at least once or twice a month. I'm gonna actually see him at the end of this month. And this is a good brother. I'm talking about an educated military man. But he would always question everything that was going on at the WRC. He would question certain things, and Jay didn't like him questioning. So, long story, I'll end it here. Once the once the affidavit was written for the investigation to happen, this is what they said. They said Kanye did an investigation at AMPAC. He penalized us. He has all the records showing what we was saying and doing against officials of AMPAC, different officials of AMPAC. That was a coup d'etat. Kanye has all the text messages that we've texted and all the recordings that we've had pertaining to the Sultan. He knows about Dempsey's cases, but we kind of can sweep that up under the rug real quick because that's why he used to always say, Kanye, go and study the Mexico versus the United States, man. It don't matter what the Moors do. We got to protect them. It's a jurisdictional thing. So I've read Mexico versus the United States 3 times. So I know. So I'm looking and I'm saying, oh, this is what he's doing. He's using the Mexico case to try to protect Camden, Dominique, and Jordan. He's trying to cover up the drug ring that's going on down there through through this Mexico versus the United States, which is basically stating it don't matter. It's a jurisdictional thing, but it does matter because Mexico is recognized. We're not. Am I making sense to y'all, Moors? It
Uh,
matters.
A lot of
Recognized.
sense.
Yeah,
Wrong.
Mexico's a recognized country. So let me finish. So now, he knew, he says, we're already guilty, y'all. He knew it. He says, it's no way it's no way Kanye is not going to penalize us. It's too much on the record. He says somebody's going to be removed. This is the way Jay think. He says Kanye going to remove somebody once he done in 14 days. Because that morning, Kyrie was there. That morning, Kyrie, did I not put out a message the next morning and told the PO committee that we will be muted for 14 days? And didn't Jay? Jay, right away, you can't do that. You got to go to your superiors. So I called one of my superiors, which was Chad. Listen to me, y'all. I called Chad. I said, Chad, I got to do this investigation, assaulting. No, you don't. I said, assaulting. So what? I said, what do you mean, so what? I said, everybody's thinking AMPAC 2.0, Chad, is running the empire. He's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. I was like, brother, I'm doing an investigation. You can't lead us. And then he went into screaming and yelling, saying, I can't lead you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Believe me, there's an argument going back and forth. I said, no problem. I said, I'm going to call McCarr. So then I called McCarr. I said, McCarr, you on? I said, and then I called Chad back. I said, Chad, you are on the phone with McCarr. I said, McCarr, Chad disrespected my office again. And Chad told me that I was trying to run the empire of Morocco when all I've been asked to do was do an investigation. I'm just doing my job, McCarr. And I said, Chad, can I ask you a question? What's your question? I said, Minister of Foreign Affairs, who told you I was trying to run the empire? And he stops for like 5 seconds. I said, answer the question, Minister. That's just my personal opinion. You're trying to, I said, goodbye. And I hung up the phone. I called McCarr back. McCarr says, Kanye, you can't let things that are untrue about you affect you. I said, McCarr, these are people that I am in the internal government with. I said, somebody told Chad that I was trying to run the Empire of Morocco, and I've never ever tried to run the Empire of Morocco. I stuck to trying to make sure that the council generals knew their damn job. So they never intended to go through the investigation, Morris, because they knew there was too much evidence on the table against them, and that's why they said no. We're gonna start our own so-called court proceeding. So they wanted to make it look professional. What they were doing was professional work, and we were just making erratic decisions. So what you have to realize is that once they decided not to go to the investigation and they went to this application, that created them to being outlaws within the empire of Morocco because they never let their due process go through. So they always talk about due process, but they didn't want due process based upon the fact that they were afraid what was going to come out within the 14-day window on which the empire was supposed to be uh, pretty much muted. Am I making sense to everybody?
Yes,
You
sir.
got it there, bro.
Okay.
I'm
So
still here anyway.
yeah. So because I love my brother Maru,
Thank you.
I wanted to expand because I want my brother to be in a safe space on where he's at. All y'all deserve to be in a safe space. But once I need to apologize to y'all because I was just hoping that I was hoping, I was thinking more about decolonization and not trying to break up what we had built, not impact what we had built, the work
Yeah.
the work that Abdul put in. But I was like, I just looked and I said, after my wife told me that day, I said, if I call the Sultan, this is never going to be the same. And I knew it. And she was like, y'all not, I'm sorry she said this. She says, y'all ain't going to get nowhere anyway if you don't call him and let him know what's going on. That's exactly what my wife said. And that's what made me call. She said, y'all ain't getting nowhere, Kanye, if you don't call him and let him know what's going on. She was like, because all y'all are just absolutely living a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and now I have to tell the truth. And I don't know if it set us back or it's going to
No,
move us forward.
it moves us forward, AG. It
Um,
moves us forward. You know, all of that. Uh, every every thing that fed that ego, anybody that was a part of that or saw that or saw these little things, I appreciate, you know, you're telling the whole story and how you were young and you were vulnerable and basically you were in the spirit of trust, like the Sultan was, like
correct.
many of people in the spirit of trust. You know, just go along with it to keep it together. You know, and you know, so that's you satisfied me. I know a lot of people in this town hall meeting find me a little bit abrupt,
You're
and
right.
maybe this doesn't make any sense, but
Yeah,
it makes a whole lot of sense if you know the laws of cause and effect.
correct. Correct. And you know, for y'all that don't, Brother Maru's never missed. I felt in my heart that I had to give him everything from the beginning to the end because he's never missed any of my classes. Um, he's always been loyal to us. He just needed a full picture. Um, but take in mind, Morris, that our story is not done.
No,
But if it
no,
was not for Deanna Fierro Bay, where would we be at right now? I think about this every day. If it wasn't for Deanna Fierro Bay, we'll still be living amongst each other in a lie. That's the thing. And it was my job is to say, you know what? It's going to stop. It's going to. I really didn't. Yeah, when you really say, Consul General, you really didn't know Nova's position. I really did not know. That's how much I was so disconnected from because I wasn't doing the meetings with y'all. I didn't know what was going on with the PDFs. I would ask Dre, hey, what's going on with this PGF? What's going on with these brothers? These brothers, I see these brothers on the call on Sunday. Tell me who they are. Like, kind of break it down, right? And he didn't always have positive things to say, right? But then it would always be, but I always would hear Nova's name and on how like abrupt she was and how rude she was and these things and I really and what was told to me about Akil, it was like, yeah, watch what you say around Akil because he already know the answers to everything, right? Right? It was like, watch what you say around him because he'll ask you a question but already know the answer to it. And I'm like, okay, I can see that, right? And I can see that now in Akil when I talk to Akil and how intelligent he is, right? And that was another thing that they was afraid of because remember, Akil was originally supposed to be the prime minister, but once again, the trust factor is what moved Dre into the prime minister, right? So
yes,
we all were swarmed.
yes,
They even
yes,
swarmed me. They even swarmed me as the council general because they was like, he ain't one of us. He ain't down
yes,
with us. He's gonna stick strictly to the law. So they even swarmed me. And I and is one brother that I'm gonna tell y'all, and I know the Salted May is one brother I'm sad about, and I think y'all know who it is. I never thought I studied with this brother because it was me, Jordan Bay, and Watson Ali. we was on every council general call years for like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And watching Ali, I never thought
He shocked me too. Yeah.
like that was everybody else didn't shock me, but watching
Yeah.
Ali, I'm still shocked today. Every day I wake up, we still text each other, right? And he'll read my message, or if I call him right now, he'll pick up and be like, "What's going on, good brother?" And he'll hear me out. He'd be like, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know." But I don't know what it is, because I know he had a great relationship with the Sultan. He came to my home when he came here to the 100th, met my wife, my kids. He went to my basketball game with me, and we grew to love each other.
Yeah.
And and it was a lot of times when I was struggling at AMPAC with the things that was going on here, and I'd be like, "Man, Jay said this, or he disrespected me here in front of and Watson Ali was the only guy I would call him, and I would call him and Isaac, and him and Isaac could be like, "Don't worry about it, brother. Calm down. Take a deep breath. We love you. You're doing a great job." And it was the two brothers I used to speak to all the time. I used to speak to Isaac, and I used to speak to Watson Ali. And them brothers, two brothers there, they are the ones that kept me updated on what was going on with the empire. And I just want to yield at this point. I know Sarah, she has something to say, and I just want to say I love y'all. I am going to protect y'all to my last breath, until y'all say, "Hey," until y'all say, Attorney General, you too old to do this damn job anymore, right? And I am here to train and develop, but I'm not gonna let nothing happen to y'all. I can promise you that. And I yield to my sister.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. This cannot happen again. Everybody's got the history. This is the history of the Empire of Morocco. It's good and bad. I yield.
Okay,
Is
so on the president,
Yeah, I
on the
think
president,
sister,
I'm gonna make it.
yeah.
I'm gonna make it real quick, really quick, because some of this stuff I don't even understand how y'all even getting loud, having arguments. It don't even make sense to me. But this isn't. They've been doing it for the longest. You know what I'm saying? When we got into it with Nova, everybody in other PGLs. So if you was a PGL when we was PGLs, it was what, 7 or 8 of us. Nobody stood up and said anything to DJ as far as taking his back upon like how she was. Instead, they told him that he owed her an apology. Oh, you so out of line. Oh, you. But now everybody, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. We've been picked up on the fact that something was wrong with the fact that she was Mexican in the first place. She shouldn't have been over all of us. We've been said. But it's like every time we try to speak, we were shut down. Jay would get loud. The same thing he's doing the same things to the point where he was using the exact same words, different situations, exact same words. Nobody picked that up. You see what I'm saying? So we all have to take accountability. Like I said on the call Sunday, I didn't approve none of this stuff. As a matriarch, I did not approve nothing. But yet we still have to take accountability because of the seat of office that we have taken place. We have to still take accountability. So that's everybody. So, you know, you can't beat one person up because they are speaking a truth, especially if you already kind of had the full truth. But I understand with wanting the empire to know what's going on. I get that. But don't beat a person up when you two or we too have to hold accountability for things that happen in other meetings, in other sessions, and other, you get what I'm saying?
Correct.
It's not to beat each other up. We all need to be on one accord with one another. And as a matriarch, that's something I'm not gonna sit up there and listen to all the time, all that back and forthness like that. All these egos, hypertension type stuff going on. We gotta get it together. Like for real. You cannot overtalk each other. It's called respect. Do anybody know what that means? Respect. Everybody need to let each other talk. We can get our point across without arguing and getting and screaming. Just have respect for each other, because other people coming in seeing this, they ain't gonna want to come into this. Not with all this going, they're not gonna want to do it. Y'all have to think about that. So be mindful of how we come across with each other as brothers and sisters. And that's why I yield.
Thank you, sir.
Good job.
Thank you, Sister Shaletta.
Good job.
Yeah, Islam. Hey, Prime, you guys know my number. I know y'all can call me anytime. Like I said, we're in our rightful place. And we just got to move forward and continue what we're doing and continue our path, because I know I know this is where it's at, and I know these are the true divine people. So I yield, and Prime, you can close us out, brother, unless the Sultan has something to say.
I do, and it'll be very brief. To Brother Maru's concerns and what you took time to break down. Obviously, I can't do the same right now because we don't have that time. However, to make it easy, I'll suggest you read my State of the Empire, the State of Emergency address, because within that particular document, I pointed out what took place on the first with AMPAC 1.0, and I went as far as to apologize to um, Wazir Daoud and Minister of Foreign Affairs Jabande Waze Bey until further discussions where I can give my side of the story to give you further clarity as far as my involvement. But in the meantime, in between time, you may refer to the state of emergency address to get a sneak peek, which I've already basically spoke on. But with that, I yield.
Thank you, Your Majesty. I will do that.
All right. Good meeting, Moors. Extensive meeting, but good meeting, well needed. Glad we made it through the turbulence. We ended off a good note, as this is how we should have been ended off our meetings when we had, turbulence and things of that nature. So it's good that this brings intimacy. All right, so good meeting. I appreciate everybody for attending. We'll end this meeting here at 11:57 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for attending, and long live the Empire and His Majesty Sultan.
Long live the Empire, His
Long
Majesty
live
the
the
Sultan.
Moroccan
Islam.
Empire and His
Long live the
Majesty
Empire, His
Sultan.
Long live
Majesty
the
Sultan.
empire.
One
Islam.
people, one earth. Islam.
Islam, peace, peace.
Long live the Empire and His Majesty the Sultan. That's right.